means you just ride it out because you don't have anything else you can do.
Well,
Then you learn to trust.
I think
Is that
that's
the
true.
growing factor?
That is a growth factor. Is actually it is, and I know that's we always talk about. That means you're growing. This means you're growing. You know, this other thing means you're growing. But two things I want to say about that. Number one, yes, while you're in it, it's hard to feel that way. It's hard to feel that you should be trusting God when stuff is kind of smacking you up against the head. You know, when you're having one of those kind of
Yeah.
days, it's real tough to say, I'm just gonna go pray anyhow. You know, it's real tough to say I'm just gonna trust God anyhow. But the reality is that is what you gotta get to. And the second point that I want to make is when you get through it and you do get past it, and when you look back, that's when you really find out that it wasn't as serious as you thought it was going to be. It's looking at, you know, as looking at it from a victorious standpoint, from when you've gone through it. While you're going through it is crazy. You know, and that's what I was talking about a couple Sundays ago when we were talking about storms. You know, how you deal with storms and different types of storms that happen in your life. And the reality is, there are some things that are set up for you to go through for a reason. There are some things that are set up for you for that purpose. They're actually for where you're going and not necessarily where you've been. They are to get you ready. They are to prepare you. They are to teach you patience. They are to teach you to trust God. They are to teach you how to be strong. They are to teach you to stand on your own. They are to give you backbone. They are to give you confidence. There's nothing that generates more confidence than you being able to go through, have God bring you through, and know that it was Him. I'm telling you, flat out, nothing gives you confidence like knowing that you really can trust God. That is an awe-inspiring, experience. Especially, when it's really rough and really tough, and God brings you through. There's, I don't know if, I'm sure you guys have had experiences where something was kind of hitting you up against the wall or had your back pinned against the wall, whether it be financial, health wise or emotional or career, those type of things that kind of have you pinned against the wall. And when God brings you through, I'm telling you that there's a sense of confidence knowing that you can trust God when He brings you through. It really does build your faith. It really strengthens you so that when you have those days, you know, those days when you lean against the counter and everything falls on the floor.
Yep, I have a question. I have a question. So
Okay.
it's not enough to say that you trust God in something. Like
Let me move back a
you
little
could
bit.
be
Let me
going
see
through
it.
something and saying that you trust God through it. You,
Huh?
I said you could be going through something
Yeah.
and you say, okay, you're gonna trust God in this situation, even though it's not a good situation or whatever.
Yeah.
But then, what do you do with the emotions in that situation? Like you could say you
Yep.
trust God, but you still feel bad about the situation, or
Well,
you don't.
it all depends on how far you take that feeling bad about it. Okay. As human beings, we're made up. We have emotions. We have feelings. But you can trace back every bad decision in your life to your emotions playing tricks on you. Pretty much every bad experience that you've either gone too far or did something that you knew you should not have done, or hurt somebody, or did something, anything along those lines, you can pretty much, if you unravel it, you can pretty much trace it to a point where your emotions was out of control. You allowed your feelings to overwhelm your brain. Okay, whether it was you spent too much money on something because you like the salesman, or they just talked you into something and you had buyer's remorse 2 days later. You know what I'm saying? It was emotional. You know, you kicked yourself afterwards because you said, this don't make no sense. It was all about your feelings and your emotions. So what I'm saying is, because we have, because we're human, that's part of who we are, that's a natural part of our makeup, is our feelings and our emotions. The key is to learn how to, number one, train yourself. Number two, don't let your emotions get out of control. And now, again, that's easy to say. It's a life lesson, though. It really is a life lesson.
How do you train your emotions?
How do you train your emotions? You rein them in.
So really, it's just like you really just have to rein yourself in.
You really do have to rein yourself in. You
like
literally.
I do self-talks. I mean, is that what you consider?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but does that mean you don't trust God even? So, like, if you have bad, like, let's say you still are going through the motions and stuff, you can still be trusting God, but just not be happy at that time.
Right.
Right.
And exactly.
I feel like there's a lot of biblical examples of that.
Right.
Like, if you just read everybody, like, when they cried out and said something that was ridiculous, or did something ridiculous, like, all of them did it. So if it's in there, there's a reason that it's put in the scripture. I feel
True.
like, not that we should use that like, oh, I could just complain all the time because David wrote this, and that, but we're gonna feel bad at times. Like, that's fact, that's human. I mean, I don't know. If I saw somebody floating around all the time, happy all the time, I'd be concerned. I would really be concerned.
Like, everybody has joy, and they have joy all the time. Like, well,
Joy is a knowledge, like that's a fact.
that's
It's a knowledge of something, but it's not always being happy. Like,
Right. It's not. There's a difference between happiness and joy. Happiness really is situational. It depends on the situation whether I'm happy or not.
Right.
Joy is actually something that comes from the inside. It's things could be going wrong, but you still trying to find the best side of it. You know what I'm saying? Things could not be going the way that you want them to go, the way that they should go, or the way that you plan for it to go, but you don't give up hope. You don't lose hope. It's like, I don't see how this is going to work out, but this is when I learned how to trust God. This is when I learned not to trust my emotions. Here. Anybody need it? That's why I got it out here. All right. This is when I learned not to trust my feelings. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And your feelings will betray you. I'm telling you. Your feelings will betray you.